Rest Movement podcast, where we release every single thing.
Have you ever walked in a room and suddenly felt like you didn't belong there? Seemed like everybody in the room seemed more qualified, more confident, more knowing. The truth is, many of the people sitting at the table that you're intimidated by are experiencing the same thing. Today, we're talking about imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome doesn't mean you don't belong in the room. It means you're probably finally in a room that is taking you out of your comfort zone. In fact, it's stretching you. So we're going to talk about that today. Stay with me. Let's get into it.
Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Now let's get into it.
I don't really know how chunky I am until I see myself on screen, and I be like,
You and I'm chunky. Yes, it started, and we talking about being chunky.
too chunky.
Hey y'all, welcome to the Rest Movement, where we release every single thing. I am your host, Renee Young Blake, the Nugget Dropper, and my co-host to the right.
Hey, Sonia.
What you do? What you do?
Stir your soul.
Yes, that's my soul stir. She be stirring up stuff sometimes. Like, girl, pump the soul stirring break right now. But it's okay.
It's in my DNA.
She get back at me. We'll stop dropping nuggets then, right? So we do what we got to do, because guess what it is? Y'all know what time it is. It's Freedom Fridays. Fridays. It's Freedom Fridays. Fridays. It's Freedom Fridays. Fridays. So what you gonna do? You gonna come in here and get free? Let's get started. Listen, today,
Okay.
huh?
Let's get it started.
Oh my gosh, last week she's singing, what's the song? I Will Survive. Now you got something else. What's going on?
That's the Black Eyed Peas.
Listen, she is really in the power to the people. Last week was Juneteenth. She can't let it go. She just want to make sure we still celebrating, and that y'all let us free. What was that? Or what was that movie with Jaimin Hansu? Let us free, whatever it was. But we're just having some fun, and we hope you are too. And this topic today may not necessarily be fun, but I guarantee you, when we start talking about it, it'll resonate with you, and the freedom that you deserve, that God wants for you, that we want for you, and that you want for yourself. We'll get there. This topic that we're talking about today is deep. It's deep in most of us, if we will admit it. I didn't know I had this issue until a counselor revealed, it sounds like you have imposter syndrome. I'm like, okay, well, what is that? Why do I have that? But once she said it, it helped me realize why I was experiencing this stronghold, because that's what it was to me, a stronghold. And if we are talking about it, what is imposter syndrome really? I want to use my journey to kind of kick off the conversation. A year ago, I joined, and I've shared with you guys, and you know that I started with this entrepreneur group. I didn't know what the group was about when I first joined, but something in an ad that I saw made me join, not knowing it was a stepping stone that God had set up so that I would learn about entrepreneurship. But I can tell you, the kind of person I am, when I feel intimidated or feel inadequate in a particular situation, I'm very quiet. And I just watch, and I glean, and I'm listening, and I'm admiring all the people who are talking and speaking up.
Yes.
It's like people keep joining the group. And so at the beginning of each of our coaching days or Q&A days, whatever it is we're doing, they'll always say, we have any new people here? And they would call us OGs. If you've been there longer than a month, you OG. Let the OGs welcome the new Gs, right? And so, we we put welcome in the chat. And so many people, they're just joining the day. They don't even know who's in the community. They don't even know all these people. They don't even care. They got questions to build their business. They right on in there asking questions. And I'm sitting back just like shrinking over time, shrinking and shrink. I'm shrinking because I won't ever say anything. And it's like, these people don't know you. They don't know they know each other because they keep talking, they keep sharing,
Yes.
but something keeps me frozen and something keeps me stuck, even to this day. I'm no longer a part of that group because I've hired a business coach that would do for me like 10x what they were doing because this coach is focused on my business versus me gleaning and growing and learning and building like I've been doing for this year. I'm also a part of a podcast group that was started by the same guy who started the entrepreneur group. I would never have thought about podcasting except he talked about it on the entrepreneur group. I joined this podcasting group. I'm loving it. I love all the nuggets that I get to learn. I like when they do breakout rooms because in a smaller room, when it's 5 or 6 of us, I'm very talkative. I'm my normal yakety yak self. But somehow when I listen to these people who are much younger than me, been on social media since social media started because that's their thing. I'm a nurse. I was not doing social media like that. I'm watching and scrolling what everybody else is doing, but posting and having something to say and people know. Girl, I would never even post pictures before of myself or my family or anything I'm doing because I'm like, that's too much. And people don't want to really know your business. And come to find out, people really do want to know your business. Just like you scrolling and want to know people's business. So when I realized that I was feeling like I don't belong in this group, I'm not smart enough. I'm creative, but I'm not as creative as some of these people. I'm listening how they answer questions or the questions that they ask. And me being intimidated, me having that feeling of inadequacy makes me feel like I don't belong in a room. But one day God said, any room I allow you in, you belong in.
Amen.
And so I know if I'm experiencing this, because none of us experience anything by ourselves.
Right.
There are like millions and billions of people in the world. And I guarantee you, minimally, it's probably 100,000 people that are experiencing exactly what you're experiencing. So I thought this would be a good topic for us because I know for women, because our identity has been being a wife, mother, and all these other titles, when it is time for us to show up in our room, we don't show up because we've been doing something else for too long that we don't know how to show up in the place that we should be showing up, and we deserve to be there.
And because society doesn't necessarily look at those things as accomplished, even though you can't get to the accomplishment without that first part, right? The parenting, the teaching, and things of that nature. So it's really the backbone.
Women are the greatest problem solvers.
Absolutely.
Best creators. Why? Because you have to know how to manage your marriage with your husband. You have to learn how to manage your marriage with your husband and your children.
Your home.
You have to manage your home. You have to figure out how, okay, if I take them here, I'll take them there. And while they're there, I'll run, go do this. And while they're there, and then I'll run home real quick. I'll start, marinate the meat for dinner. And then let me go back and pick them up and then make sure, I got to pick up the dry cleaning. All of these things that we learn how to manage. If somebody put management of anything in our hands, we see things that other people are not going to see.
The human crock pot.
Just
getting it all done.
Getting it all done. So some of the things that defines what it is, you not believing you earned your place, feeling like you'll be found out, Because I'm like, I ain't asking you a question. I ask questions, even though people say no question is a dumb question. It's only a dumb question when you don't ask the question. Well, I got a whole lot of dumb questions too, because I ain't answering y'all nothing. I don't need you to find me out, So feeling like you'll be found out, downplaying your accomplishments. Because as you just said, and when I think about us being African American women, when you look at statistics, they always put us at the bottom of the totem pole. We're always supposed to be strong. They call us mad, angry Black women, but why wouldn't we be angry? You don't respect us. And I know that you're taking what we do and how we do what we do and taking it from us and not really giving us credit for what you learned from us.
That's true.
And it's just like if you see something happening to another woman that's not African American, sympathy will happen.
Woo, child,
but if the identical thing happens to us, very little sympathy. You're not going to hear anything happening. It's just, and that's why you keep seeing these things pop up where the civil rights attorneys and people popping up to fight for people because nobody fights for us. And if our African American men are low men on the we're lower than them in thought, and so we are taught very early on to be imposters because nobody let us in the room. Nobody gave us information. It's like we're now learning about financial management. We're learning about investment. And we thank God for social media because we are us taking care of us and not gatekeeping when we've been in this country that we've built. And gatekeeping is a thing, has been a thing, and will continue to be a thing. Yeah. The only thing has been is one of us got the key and opened the gate, and now everybody's getting in. And so that they're going to develop some more gates to lock up, to stop us from gaining what we're gaining. That's why it's so important as a people that we stay together. And it's not to extinguish our relationship with other people, because I can't say that every person that's my color is my brother and sister. Yeah. Because they would, do something to me if they had an opportunity. And I also can't say somebody who doesn't look like me is my enemy just because of their color, because that's just reverse racism. But this imposter syndrome, I think, is strong in us because we never got a chance to be in the places we deserve to be in the first place.
Yeah. If someone's always stepping on your neck, you'll never be able to breathe.
Constant comparison. That's what social media does. It makes you feel like, and I try to even share that with my granddaughter all the time. You watching these little kids and they're doing life. Why don't you just do life yourself and stop watching what they're doing? Because you don't even know what's true. You don't know what's even fake. And number one is filming. And now that we do this, I know what it is to edit out stuff, or capture, take out mistakes and errors, allowing some things to go through, because even though it was error, it was funny. Like we were talking about our hips at the beginning. I haven't decided yet whether I'm keeping that in, but just in case I don't keep it in, we was talking about, I realize all the time how big I look on screen. She's just recognizing that her thighs are looking like they say hello. So whether I leave that part in or not, but that's the thing that you can do. You can edit out things. So when we see things in social media, we feel like we're imposters because we're comparing ourselves to people we don't even know if they're real. Right. How much stuff is coming out now? People that you believe were one way, and now it's coming out they never were that way. Right. They never had that relationship.
2 minutes of film makes you go crazy because you're looking at 2 minutes of perfection on. We could do that.
With filters. Yes. We could filter out these hips. Yes. We could suck it in so you don't see. We can wipe out and you won't see a thing. But hey, if we look like this, other people look like this. We become more real because that's who we are. We're transparent about our issues. We're transparent. And that's why I could talk about this, because even though this podcast is about getting released from being stuck in a place and being able to move forward to deal with those root issues, it doesn't mean we're not experiencing something. Doesn't it mean we're not still going through things? We just know how to live free in it.
That's right.
And that's where we're trying to get you to. So, and stop waiting to feel ready. That's another thing that I realized in my imposterism is feel like, okay, next week I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to be ready. Next week come and I was like, deer caught headlights. I still don't have anything to say.
My career is similar in terms that I work with scientists. The funny announcements that I do, you have to be a scientist. You have to have a PhD in most cases. And you have had to do a series of research. And here I come telling them that this isn't no good. No, you can't say that. No, this budget sucks. Like, I am that person. It took me a long time to feel confident in saying that to someone who's went to school, studied, and practiced this. To say, can you, in terms of their proposal, right? And so usually when we have meetings, it's me, it's 6 or 7 other doctors.
Wow.
And so till this day, I had one last week that had like the senior vice presidents of my company that was getting ready to do it. I was like, I can't do this. Now, mind you, I've been doing it for 13 years. But to know that those people waiting to see what I have to say, it was just the pressure. I don't think I slept that night. And I kept calling out God. Mm-hmm. But then guess what happened? One of the things I presented, the highest person in that meeting said, can you send me that? I want to use it for my meeting. Okay, God, I know that was God. I'll send you God's presentation. So when we were talking about, we were going to talk about them. I was like, I don't think I have imposter syndrome. But then I started thinking about my job. I was like, oh, but you do. People probably don't realize it.
Because truthfully, women know how to put their best face forward all the time. You won't, it's just like you learn to do that because you don't want to panic your children. If you're in a situation where you can't pay the rent, you can't pay it, we might be living in our car. You're not going to present that to your children. So what do? You put on the face. So even when we think, I don't know if I can go in there. Why are they asking me to present? Why are they, what?
Exactly.
Like, wait a minute. Do they know? Are they sure? I'm getting ready to be found out.
Right.
Because we know how to put on the face. We know how to put on the facade. But the truth is, you just beautifully laid out. You've been doing this for 13 years. God put you in a place where, you may not have been qualified, but he qualifies the called. He doesn't call the qualified when it comes to kingdom work. Mm-hmm. And so he let your pretty brown face, and I'm sure many of the people you work with are not pretty brown people. And he is allowing you to show up in the room representing who we are, because the world never represents the truth of us. You won't see it. It never fails. And I don't really pay attention to this now because I don't like the news, so I never watch it because it's really a test of lie. They're not telling the truth anyway, so why am I waste my energy? But I have seen so many times when something happens in the news, they never go to the intelligent Black person to let me rewind that. And not that they're intelligent, but they're not necessarily well spoken, and they're not going to be the type of person knows how to articulate it well what just happened. They're going to find a person who has not combed their hair. They have found a person who got a rag on their head. They're going to find them in a way that doesn't represent the majority of America, African American people, to present us wrong or tell a wrong story or have them talking about each other in, disparaging ways. And just, it's never, they're not going to walk up to you, Miss Contractor, that, grant writer. They're not going to walk up to you and say, ma'am, what happened today? Because you present well. They're going to look for somebody losing their mind and acting crazy, and that's where they're going to come with the
Always
mic.
looking for the wild child.
Looking for the wild child so that they can keep the lie going, because other countries are watching too. And other countries sees our news.
Ooh. So I have a girlfriend who went in the Peace Corps, and she was assigned a place in Russia. And their TV shows, the only thing they portrayed of Black people were hustlers and rappers in every show. She said, I couldn't watch it. And she said the racism was so thick in those areas because of the way that we are portrayed through the media. Anyway, it was so bad that she wrote a letter to come out of the Peace Corps, not out of the Peace Corps, but to be assigned somewhere else, because it was more than she could handle. But just imagine that's how most countries we're seeing.
That's because that's how America, the country that we built, portrays us. It is another form of slavery, and to keep you in your place.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not it. That wasn't it. I mean, essentially, that's imposter syndrome. It's the powers that be want to keep you in your place. And if you don't start changing the way you think, changing how you think of yourself, recognizing that every door that opens, if it opens, God is saying you can walk in. Because that should be your prayer every day. God, open doors that I close, it should be open, and closed doors you don't want me go in, so that I'm not going into a place that I shouldn't be. Because some people are not worthy of who you are. They're not trustworthy, so you don't need to be in that untrustworthy place sharing your gifts that God has placed in you to get stuff done. So the first question I had is, have you ever talked yourself out of an opportunity you were fully qualified for? And I can say that what I have learned, because I would, even when people would call me for a speaking engagement, come to a women's conference to speak to the women, come to the church to speak to the congregation or whatever, I would be on pins and needles like, oh my gosh. But there one day God clicked in and said they wouldn't have called if they didn't see something in you that they needed. People don't just randomly call people and ask to come and speak in an environment that they're responsible for. And they're essentially saying, here, my people, your people. And they'll speak it, because if you come in there talking crazy, they're going to have to, after you leave, repair the people you injured with the words that you spoke. And so what I try to live by is saying yes before I get into my own way and think of a way to say no, or a reason to say no when there really isn't a reason. And thinking about every opportunity as a blessing, that somebody would think well of you enough to even ask you to come, ask you to be a part. Because always people are going to see more in you than you see in yourself.
It's true. My pastor, I remember the first time he invited me to minister to our church, and I said,
No, you didn't say,
I said, I can't, but I did. But then he asked me a few other times, and there were some times when I flat said no, and so then God told me to stop it. And I was like, but who am I? Like, I'm just a little member, And similar to what you said, he said, I wouldn't have asked you to do it if I didn't think you could.
And what is a little member?
Somebody just sits and listens.
And truthfully, that's the problem with the church today, is we've placed people who are on the stage on such great pedestals, when I guarantee you, if you go cut them with a knife, they're going to bleed just like you breathe. They get overwhelmed just like you get overwhelmed. Some are just great orators, and that's the only reason why you're so drawn to them. But the anointing is are in people sitting in the congregation as well. It's not meant for you to exchange your gift for the person who has a gift on the stage. That's their gift, to be up there in front of people. But you also have a gift. And sometimes God is calling out that gift because they see you sitting on it. He see you sitting on it. There's more to you than what I see. There's more to, and not I as in God. There's more to you than what I see. Mm-hmm. There's more to you than what you see in your own self. Because he knows what he created.
I know. We haven't even touched the surface.
Oh my gosh, because we're too busy being imposters. Have you ever looked at your resume, your experience, or your accomplishments and convinced yourself you weren't enough?
Well, in the job that I may have been applying for, I've told myself it's not enough. Like, I don't have A, B, and C. And I'm sure, especially in today's climate, because so many people are, looking for the job that are very qualified, that have degree on top of degree and things of that nature. And then, unfortunately, one day, the vice president of my department said to one of our directors that there's so many other people out here now that are qualified for the jobs that you all do. So what are we supposed to take from that? Was that a threat?
He said that
she said that.
She said that there are other people on your job.
No,
out there that are more qualified.
That are very qualified to do what we do. I don't know if it was more, but very qualified to do what we do. And so the point became...
Was it a meeting where you all were complaining about your job or something?
No.
So what was that about?
I don't know if that was to drop a seed to tell us that we should be, happy that we're in this position, or to say...
No, ma'am, you should be happy you're in your position.
It was like, what?
Sometimes people put their mouth on you and they just don't know the kind of trouble when you are a child of God that they just placed themselves in. So we need to just zip that right on up. Have you ever needed proof that you belong somewhere after the proof had already been provided? For me, it was those speaking engagements and having anxiety and thinking, you want me? Because I've said that. You want me? Why would you say that? They obviously want you, ma'am. They called you. They gave you a date of when something is happening and saying they would love for you to come and be the speaker or one of the speakers or be on the platform as one of the platform guests. If they asked you, Dodo Bird, they want you. But here you go. Who else is going to be on the platform? Now I'm looking at the other people that's on the platform. You sure you want me with that group? What do I know? Well, what do they know?
So true.
We see what people present. And again, some people are good at talking. I don't know if you are on social media enough to know who this stuff that's been out there about Dr. Cheyenne Bryant.
Yes.
OMG. When I tell you this girl, when she starts talking, I don't care one way or the other what you say you are. She's the kind of person that could sell you swampland and tell you standing in grass when I feel the water up to my ankles, but she convinces you could buy this. Oh yeah, it is grass. No, it's not. Your feet, so you're lifting up, water dripping. But she rolls stuff off the tongue. Some people are just like that. They're great orators, and they're able to convince you until somebody, and unfortunately in social media time, you can't do that for so long because people won't start researching you.
You'll be found out.
And you're going to be found out.
Yeah, you are.
And so we look at people like that and we're like, wow, wow, they're so, no, you're so. Stop comparing yourself and stop giving everybody else compliments as if the creator who gives us as his greatest creation everything we need, we just don't tap into it.
But why don't we? That's so true. Like what you just said should resonate with all of us. You are God's greatest creation. You don't have to compare yourself. It's only one of you. God did that.
That's it. One set of fingerprints and nobody else got these.
Nobody.
Our hands may look the same. Mine's short and stubby. But if I touch the black and get a fingerprint and you put one, they are not going to be anywhere near the same. And how is that possible with all of the gazillion people that in the... Only a gazillion creating God can do it. And so as we're talking to you, we're talking to ourselves, because trust and believe we have our own inadequacies, our own moments of intimidation, our own moments of feeling like we lack what we need to have to do what we need to do. We are going to be going to the podcast summit in a few weeks. And because I belong to this podcast group, you know, there's like a buildup and all the stuff. And I know what I've planned to do differently from last year. Last year, I was completely green, hadn't even started a podcast, was just in awe of the people and in awe of people who I've seen on our Zoom calls. Like, oh, there goes so-and-so. Did I go over and say, hey, so-and-so? Nope. You know, I'm just sitting around telling my husband, telling Marco in the mirror, look, that person right there. Remember I showed you? I'm like a little kid in a candy store, like, girl, these people are just like you. Some of them have been doing it longer. They're all here to learn and to glean, to hone their craft. Yeah. So stop tripping. So now you've started the podcast since that podcast summit. You have a little more experience. Now you need to not go looking like somebody that's celebrating everybody else, although we celebrating each other. Celebrate your own self. Go out there and make things happen. You've been given these tools, use them. And so I'm confidently having anxiety about it, but I've had a plan. I'm going to execute the plan and the best of my ability to do what I need to do to make this podcast more visible, to engage with people, you know, and see what other people are doing and to learn. It's a wonderful place to be. But again, it's a stretching. It's taking me out of my comfort zone. And that's all imposter syndrome is. It's not that we don't belong in the room. We belong in the room. It's just stretching us. It's taking us out of our comfort zone. And we like familiarity.
Everybody does. Nobody likes change.
Routine. We like knowing, and we got to stop all of that. So what is the root of the imposter syndrome? Because the imposter syndrome is the root. It's not the fruit. There is a root behind it. And a few of them that I've identified: low self-esteem, saying I'm not enough. So the low self-esteem is the actual root, but the fruit is what we say, I'm not enough. And how often has that been a problem? We don't think highly of ourselves, but we'll think highly of people we don't even know.
Do you think it's some being shushed a lot too?
All of that, you know. I met this little baby at the water park that I took the kids to in New Jersey a few days ago. And she just walked up, was standing beside me. She looks like she's not even 2 yet. And she kept looking at me, and she saw me eating some grapes, and she was in my face. I'm like, baby, I can't feed you this food without your mom and your daddy. And she happened to be with her dad. The mom, I think, was out with the other children. And so I said, what's her name? He said, Beautiful. I said, well, isn't that something? Because when I saw her, I said, hey, Beautiful. Not knowing, and I didn't ask him why he named her Beautiful, but what it took me to is this gentleman who works with my son. He works with him trying to build his career. I had given him, he bought a book from me for his wife. And so I was writing in the book, and I said, what's her name? He said, Miss. I said, huh? And he said, you spell it M-Y-S-S. He said her father named her Miss because he wanted her for the rest of her life to be respected by those who are disrespectful. Because every time they call her name, they're going to have to say Miss. I said, well, okay, Daddy. I love it. So all of that came back to me when he told me her name was Beautiful. And I said, I bet you all of their children have a name like that so that every time somebody calls them, they will know exactly who they are. So this little pretty baby, every time somebody calls her, they're going to say, hey, Beautiful. Isn't that amazing? So having that shush, having that lack of empowerment, you know, when you're growing up, nobody telling you. In this age, we know how to impart that to our children. But our growing up, our parents weren't radical like that because they were fresh out of civil rights themselves, still trying to dig their toes in the ground and stand firm against, you know, you think about it. When we started elementary school, we were in the civil rights movement, didn't even know it. We didn't know that we were bussed. Like how we became friends. Our neighborhoods weren't the same. We got bussed over to your neighborhood because that was a white school in your neighborhood, and they were making us come over there with you all to, so I would have never met you if that hadn't happened. Because I started kindergarten in a neighborhood school where it was mostly blacks, but they bust that up too and bust us over there so that we could see people that didn't look like us, and those people could see people that didn't look like them. But our parents didn't know, most of them. Maybe y'all's did. My parents didn't know to build that up in me and to tell me that I was beautiful and to tell me that I was worth it, because they didn't know that about their own selves. My parents came from the South. They weren't in the deep South. They weren't Carolina South, but they were Virginia South. Mm-hmm. And they didn't get that. Yeah. You know, my mom, her mom, by the time my mother came along, she's like, ain't no more kids, you know. That was baby number, baby number 10 she was. So what was she going to pour into her? Mm. And then if she wasn't pouring anything, what was my mother going to pour into me? So a lot of that imposter stuff comes from, I don't belong here because nobody ever told me I needed to. It wasn't until I got a relationship with God, and even then, I still struggle in my humanity, not my divinity, because my divinity don't mess with me. But when I come into my humanity and I come into this flesh, it's a struggle. Another one is insecurity. The insecurity is the root, and the fruit of that will say everybody else is better. Looking in the room, looking around the table, kind of you at the table, you in the room, but you're looking at the people in the table as if they're better than you. Why? Why would that be? Who says that they're better than you? They're more astute, maybe. That'll make them better than you. They're able to articulate better. That'll make them better than you. They have more experience. That'll make them better than you. But you have all of that stuff, and I know it, because if it happens to me, it happens to somebody else. Rejection is another one of those roots. You feel like you don't belong. Fear. What if I fail? Mm-hmm. That's huge. The root of that. Comparison, we've talked about. We talked about doubt. All of these things are what creates imposter syndrome. All of these roots that we have to uproot. We have to identify. So the question I have, if imposter syndrome is the fruit and not the root, why do you think most people spend so much time trying to fix the fruit without ever dealing with the root?
Because they don't know themselves. And they haven't learned how to trust God and believe in who he says they are versus what the world says they are.
Or what they say they are themselves.
But a lot of that comes from, I was thinking about imposter syndrome, and it can come in so many different ways, but I think that it's also kind of systemic in terms of, like you said, being told that we have a place. And so we dummy down because we're told that that's our place.
Oh, you know what you're making me think of? Remember that, I don't know if she was a sports commentator, but because, oh gosh, what is his name? How am I not remembering his name right now? LeBron James had something to say. I think it was a political something, and she told, and then it became the caption, shut up and dribble.
I remember that.
In other words, you can't possibly have anything to say about anything else. You're just an NBA basketball player. Like, all you're limited to is your athletics. You don't have a brain. But have you seen what this man has amassed? Have you amassed? Have you seen what this man has done for his community? How he's built schools, sending children to college, and you're going to tell him to shut up and dribble? Woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're the one that,
tell
those
somebody
people with that mindset really need to be rewired. The brains need to be rewired.
But the best way to show them is to just show up as you.
They say, I can show you better than I can tell you.
That's all. It's not even worth an argument, because there's some people who are going to believe what they believe until they leave this earth.
Absolutely.
And it is not our job. Like I think we said in the last, our value is our value. We don't have to, nobody else can identify our value or tell you what our value is. We should walk in a room like we know how valuable we are, how worthy we are of being in that room. And you're not going to dictate to me whether I should be here or not. You didn't create me. You didn't even create this opportunity. This opportunity came through the Father. Promotion don't come from you. It comes from Him. And so if I'm here, executive of the company, listening in on, and listening to your voice, because we all have one, and we give a different perspective that you don't see. We weren't never meant to be on an island by ourselves. We are meant to have relationship. So what makes you think I don't belong in this room? And I might be just what you need to get you over to the next level. Absolutely. But you discounting me. Yep. How it keeps us stuck. We don't apply for jobs that we see. We won't speak when we need to speak. Mm-hmm. We won't launch what we need to launch. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't for the pressure of the people at the podcast summit, I could tell you this podcast would not exist. But every single person that I introduced myself to and told them the name of the podcast that I was going to, when's your date? When are you starting? Like, what y'all had a meeting before y'all met me? To everybody asked me the same question. But that pressure forced me to give a date and forced me to get started. Why? Because if we leave ourselves to ourselves, we'll keep making excuses about why we can't. I'm not qualified enough. I don't have the skills. I don't have the right equipment. I don't have. You have a whole lot. You just have to sit back and get the work done. Not leading, staying silent. Because you know that there are times when you're in a room and you're listening to what other people are saying and you know the right answer and won't say nothing because of fear that somebody will ask you to lead and you don't want to do it.
Yeah, that happened to me the other day. I was on my way home from work, and we were having Bible study online, on the Zoom call. So I listened in, and the pastor asked the question, and I knew the answer, but I said, "Well, you're driving. You need to be safe. You let someone answer that."
Whatever.
Nobody answered it, and then he came up with the answer. I was like, I knew that, but I didn't say anything. I just kept quiet, and I was like, you're scared of being wrong too, because you feel like you'll be found out, and then they won't depend on you to do anything in the future because they'll say you don't know. Because you had one.
Your reputation, your rep.
Yes.
It's funny that you say that because that has happened to me so many times when I'm sitting in a room and somebody, or like you said on the Zoom call, and they tell you put something in the chat. What do you think the answer is? And you know the answer. Like once it's in the chat, people gonna see it. What if it's wrong? But you really feel like you know the answer. And then when they give it and nobody else gave it, but it was your answer too, then you feel dumb. Like if you had said something, they would know how smart you are. But here you go again, not putting nothing in the chat.
It's true.
It's like, well,
fear of being wrong.
It's ridiculous when
that's your reputation.
Lord have mercy.
Don't ask her.
So some of the things we wanna make sure you understand is you do belong. You already belong. You have experience that matters. We talked about in the very beginning, being a mom is a CEO position. We didn't say those words, but thinking in hindsight, it's a CEO position. Absolutely. You run an enterprise.
You really are.
And so when you get on a job, you are capable. I don't care if it's you working at McDonald's. You are capable of being a manager because you manage a family well. Even with all its bumps and bruises and mistakes, you figure out how not to have that mistake again. You have the skill set. And we have to know that growth requires discomfort. That reminds me of, especially even though girls and boys experience this growing pains, boys are more vocal that something's happening. My legs are hurting because their femur is starting to stretch and the tendon. And it's not so much that the bone part hurts. It's the tendons attached to the bone having to accommodate this new growth because they ain't syncing together. It's not like the signals to the brain, okay, tendon, I'm getting ready to stretch the bone out, so you need to stretch too. No, it gets stretched by experience. And it's painful. And so we have to remember that growth requires some discomfort, because discomfort separating you from comfort, separating you from that comfort zone that we all like to be in. I'm comfortable in this place. I'm comfortable being behind the scenes. How many times have you heard people interviewed and they're like, I don't like being on this side of the camera. I will prefer staying. I don't need to be on camera. I don't want people to be seeing who I am. Yeah, but you have something to say.
I enjoy giving out the ideas and helping people see them through versus being a person that sees it through. Oh, we could do this and this. Yeah, I'm comfortable behind the scenes.
Like, here's the basketball. Don't throw it back. You take the shot. I'm gonna stay over here. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't necessarily like being in the front of the camera. I'm accustomed to being in the front of things, but never did I want something recorded. But now, I don't care where you are, you're speaking, somebody's flipping out their phone. So you're being recorded whether you want to or not. So we're all living a reality show of some sort with the camera on. So we just got to get used to it. So again, your experience matters. Growth requires discomfort. Nobody knows everything. I really hate when I hear people say I'm the expert. I'm an expert in my field. How so? You know a lot and you may be able to do a lot, but is anybody really an expert?
Yeah, that's a lot of weight.
That's a lot of weight. I think the only expert is Jesus Christ, God, the triune, the Holy Spirit. They are the experts. They're everywhere all the time, know everything. There's nothing new under the sun for them. But there's always something new that can come up. You could be super at what you do, but there's always going to be something you don't know. So how are you an expert?
But you can bring your expertise to a situation.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you how to fry some chicken.
Girl, you know how to tell them how to cook a whole lot of stuff. Don't play. Let me tell you, she makes the best cabbage. That makes the best asparagus. I wouldn't even eat no asparagus till I ran into this chick, and she made some. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna eat asparagus now. Now you have to teach me how to cook it, cause Lord Jesus, I could run some salmon. She like, listen, we ain't gonna talk about I'm making my own self hungry. Confidence comes after action. So the subtitle of this episode is How to Build Confidence. And confidence doesn't come from behind the scenes. Okay, I think I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to. No, it comes from the actual action. And when I wrote this down, it made me think of, you remember the book or the video or the lesson, The Little Engine That Could, when you were young? Mm-hmm. And how there was a powerful train that could carry all the toys that needed to go up this hill, but the one that was capable said, I'm not doing it. But the one that really didn't have the stature, didn't have the power, didn't have all the things, said, well, I'll try. And what did he say? I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. And then when he got over, I thought I could. I thought I could. I thought I could. And so it wasn't confidence before. It was confidence as the action was happening. And so we've got to stop thinking building the confidence is like sparring, hitting the punching bag, preparing yourself for the fight. It is the action of actually having a fight and saying, oh, I got some hands. Mm-hmm. So don't wait. You got to move. You got to do something. You'll never know or build the confidence unless you actually take action in doing stuff. And so it's going to be a part of my stepping out of my comfort zone and having these questions to ask and engaging in these spaces where I'm supposed to do exactly what I'm telling you to do. Listen, I'm the first partaker. So what I'm telling you like this, thumb pointing at me and these other 3 fingers pointing at me, that I need to be doing the same thing. Okay, well, we'll stop here. We'll stop at you already belong. We've given you some things about belonging. I will start with the question the next time, because if I ask the question, we're going to be talking another 55 minutes, and we don't want to do that. So I didn't say it in the beginning, but I hope that by now you have subscribed to the channel. I hope that you've already clicked. It doesn't cost you anything. What it costs us when you don't subscribe is it doesn't allow the algorithm to send us out to more people. And the more opportunities we have to reach others, then there will be others like sponsors that will reach us and will make things more available for other women who need to hear our voice and need to know exactly what we're here to do. So, like, comment, share, make sure you subscribe. Give us your comment. Let us know if you're experiencing imposter syndrome, how you've experienced it, how it has caused you to be stuck, so that we can share information and we can help one another. So we are glad you are here. We want you to keep believing. We want you to keep moving, keep embracing new opportunities, and then keep coming back, because we'll be here next Friday, same time, same space, because we love you and there's nothing you can do about it. So see you later. Bye.
Thank you for watching the Rest Movement Podcast. Remember, keep breathing, keep believing, keep becoming. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. See you next Friday.